welcome back. And today I have another tier list. This time, not a count review, not a support DBS, but this time a tier list. And this one is going to be probably a long video because I'm going to be doing a tier list for a cost maxing for whatever your favorite team is going to be for whatever character. As you can see, I have a bunch of variety of teams here, even some of them being support DPSs like Dinya, Chisa, you got Phoebe and Brand, and some more up here. So I'm trying to cater to as many people as I possibly can for if whatever team or character you like, and if you want to actually invest into them so they can last longer. Because you may not believe it or not, a bunch of these dupes in Wutheringwaves is very, very good. If you invest in them right, you can make whatever character you desire last for a very long time as long as you invested them right. So let's hop right into this. Okay, now we're going to start off here with the newest DPS, Yang. Before we get into that, I'm going to explain to you what cost is if you don't know what cost is. So cost, as you can see right here, equals 1 5-star, whether that be a character or their weapon. So as long as it's a premium thing that you have to pull for, just know that it's considered a cost. Now, some characters that you can get for free, you would consider 0 cost, but just for sakes of cost being whatever it is, I'm just going to consider anything that's even free just a cost. As long as it's a 5-star, it's going to be considered a cost unless it's like Rover or something. Unless it's something that you can get at any point in time, I'm just going to consider it a cost, period. So we're going to start off with the Yang. But before we do that, let's have a word for today's sponsor. Are you looking to get Lynae for cheaper? With Enjoy GM, it's a safe way that lets you get in-game top-ups at a discount up to 21% off compared to the official price. The $100 pack only costs $80 here, which is an insane discount. Confused on how to top up? All you need is your UID, server region, no giving your password away. And after you do that, you're going to look over in the game, and then you should get it here in a second. Boom, there you go. The Lynae subscription has hit my account. I'm going to show you guys this is my account right here. As you see, my name, my YouTube. Better yet, by clicking my link in the description and being a new user to Enjoy GM, you get an extra 8% coupon on your first top-up bonus on any game you desire. Not only that, Enjoy GM is trusted by the PCI DSS with a 4.6 review, so you can shop safely with no problem. What are you waiting for? Use my link to hurry up and get those discounts and sweet old good pull with Enjoy GM. The Yang, oh my bad. Okay, the Yang right here. So Yang, she is a pretty good character, a really good character. I really like Yang, but there's just one problem. Her dupes are not insane. They're good, but are not insane to a point where you should pull Yang dupes over her supports. So for like example, Yang, one bad thing about Yang dupes is that she has this like additional hit little thingy. Usually this is considered good in most games. For example, like Honkai Star Rail, like an additional hit of like true damage or something is like really good in that game. But in a game like Wutheringwaves, additional hits is just not something really worth it besides like the additional hits like Tomb Rupture hits. Now those are good additional hits, but these type of hits like her and Chisa have, of course hers is going to hit harder than Chisa's, but it's not really a considerable amount of damage of increase for you to even go for something like this. Nor does this like S2 that she has make something like this even better to even go for. Even considering that with her S3 too. These are really good dupes. It definitely will be the damage increase, as you can see right here. I know Pride One is not a very reliable source, but even with this, you can see they get about a 55% damage increase going from S0 Yang to an S3 Yang. But I'm just going to show you an increase you want to see whenever you're going for an S3 or S2 for a character. It's something like this. So Carthia S2 alone is already equal to of a damage increase of Yang's S3. This is almost the same percentage as the change from this. You want a change like this. This is an 85% change. Even if the quote-unquote damage is going to be higher, what you want is an actual change. You want a real change here. This is an 85% difference but compared to her S0. That's a real change you want when pulling for these characters' dupes. So if a character dupe doesn't have an insane change, unless her teammates is like bad or he or her teammates is bad, you should probably not go for that character's teammates' dupes. Unless, for example, in a scenario, like as you can see, this is going to be her best team. Even with a team like this, you probably want to go for dupes on her supports because her supports can work in multiple teams, and Yang dupes don't change such a significant amount of her damage that you should go for her dupes over her teammate dupes that can work in multiple teams. Now, if, for example, your account has this team, but you have no other teams that these two could be ran in, then I would definitely rather go for the dupes onto the Yang Yang. So even with that being said, let's just say you don't have anywhere these two characters can go for your account, then you want to go for the dupes on Yang Yang. I would definitely say that the dupes going for dupes on Yang Yang will either be the S2 to S3 will be a very good stopping point. I would preferably go for the S3 if I was you, but the S2 is also a really good stopping point, especially if you're going to be spending your free corals on them. Besides that, if you had the choice between these two and you actually had the account that these characters can go into another team, going for S2 Sweet Sweet or Chisa is almost the same amount of value. But if you really want to choose one specifically, you could go for Sweet Sweet dupes instead. But now we're going to go to the next team, which is going to be the hiyuki. Now, everybody knows hiyuki is an absolutely insane of a character. Now, for the hiyuki team, hiyuki also has some really good dupes. Now, with hiyuki team specifically, even though with the hiyuki team, you basically kind of have almost the same scenario, both of our supports can go on the same team, but are not the same team. They can go into different teams, but there's slightly difference here is that the hiyuki dupes change a pretty decent amount. Also, with the quick swap of the hiyuki, which you can also do with Yang Yang, but hiyuki dupes change a pretty large margin, as you can see. This is a 83% difference, but if you go from an S0 to an S3 hiyuki, which is insane, no? That's literally insane. So when it comes to this, you could not get the dupes on the hiyuki and get the dupes on one of your teammates, but I would highly advise a player to get the dupes on hiyuki before actually doing something like that. So that would be like S3 to S2 of the hiyuki there. I would preferably go for the S3 because as you can see that the jump from the S3 to S2 is like insane. So like I would definitely go for that. It's a pretty good one, so I really like this one. And now we're just gonna do the Lucy. Now, Lucy dupes are actually really good. She actually has really good dupes for a collab character. Genuinely surprised me. We're just gonna put the Rebecca up here too. We're just gonna slot in Mornye for a third slot right here. Now, with the Lucy dupes are really good. We're just gonna look at her right here. Right here, let me just pull her up. Okay, Lucy dupes. Now, this first dupe, now probably a lot of players have this S1 if you went for the 160-ish pity that I think it was for the free dupe on there, which this S1 is pretty decent compared to Rebecca's, the one you had to choose between hers and Rebecca. I would definitely choose this one because this one is really good, not only for just regular rotations in any in-game mode, but also is really good for WIWA for the debuffs being able to spawn through on multiple ways, which is very nice. Now, her S2 was also a really good damage increase, and her S3 is even more of an insane damage increase. So, if you did invest into a Lucy team, I really hope you went for this S3. Me, myself, and I got an S3 for my free-to-play account, so you will probably see that one day. But yes, as you can see, from the S0 to the S3, that's an 178% difference, which is insane. And compared to that, I would say if you did get the S2 Lucy, you could easily make up for some of this damage loss that you didn't get for the S3 Lucy by getting an S1 Mornye. That would definitely help out a very much. S1 Mornye is very good. So in this team, you could easily go for S2 Lucy, S1 Mornye, or just S3 Lucy, and still probably get the S1 Mornye, or you just probably go without it. But S1 Mornye is a very good cost pickup, not even just for this team, but just any team, because S1 Mornye is an exceptional dude. Okay, here we are for the Amiev team. Now, I'm pretty sure everybody knows how crazy Amiev dupes is. I really think probably till this day, still the strongest dupes in the game. So, Amiev. Amiev has really good dupes, all of them. The S1, I definitely wouldn't tell somebody grab S1 and stop. But even then, the S1 is pretty good for at least for the heavy attack that you do for the little light up little beam that you do, either being the charge one or the one when she like lunges forward. That one does pretty good damage with this 300% damage increase that it does, and it consistently pulls in enemies too, so it's exceptional in the WIWA. But I think besides that, her S2 to S3, both of these are good stopping points. I don't think you need to go anything further than that because at that point it's just overkill. But as you can see right here, it is just a tad bit higher than what the Yang Yang one was. But the one thing that Amiev has over Yang Yang is she has slightly better teammates, to be honest. So yeah. And with that being said, you can go a little crazy with this. So you can either pair Lupa, or not Lupa, you could pair Amy up with Lupa, taking out the Chisa, putting Lupa in, or you could take out the Chisa out and put like S1 Mornye in or something like that. Or you can even go like the Tomb Break version of this, which is even more stuff. So you have more versatility when it comes to the flexibility when it comes with Amias. And not only that, with this dupe, she's just gonna start soloing things too. This dupe is just insane. But yeah, if you wanted to go for dupes on this team, S2 to S3 Amy is a really good stopping point. Her teammates, though, I would say I don't think you should pull for her teammates dupes over hers just because how much of a damage increase hers is compared to these two, even if they can go on multiple teams. Her dupes is just too good that you should go for her dupes over the teammate dupes no matter what. You should definitely get like S2, S3 Amiev before you even think of getting like her teammates dupes at all. Okay, now with the Sigrika. Now, Sigrika actually has some pretty good dupes, but Sigrika also hits really hard even with her base kit. She's almost like another Yang Yang situation. Like her dupes is good, but you could possibly consider getting her teammates dupes over hers. But in that scenario, I would think of grabbing even just her S1, even if you don't want to go for more damage on her. If you don't go for comfortability on her, I think getting her S1 it could be very, very exceptional because the interruption resistance is very, very helpful whenever it comes to Sigrika. But even still, her deuce does give a decent damage increase. But I definitely think you can go past getting her dupes, instead getting her teammates dupes, rather that be S2 Shortkeeper or S2 Lucilla or even S2 Choyan if you don't have Lucilla. You could definitely get the deuce on her teammates over hers, but I would highly still consider getting her S1 at the very least. And you can also slot out Shortkeeper here for like S1 Mornye instead of getting like S2 Shortkeeper, because it's really harder nowadays to get an S2 Shortkeeper compared to like an S1 Mornye. So you could also consider doing that. But just though the crit buff for Sigrika is a little bit better because you definitely want Sigrika to hit her crits if you're not getting 100% crit rate based. Okay, now for Luke. Now, Luke also has some pretty decent dupes, but I think this might be another Yang Yang situation. Now, as you can see, his dupes does give him a damage increase. Like the S1, I definitely think this S1's a little bit lower than what it says here. It's really not that good. But the S2 does give a pretty good damage increase, and his S3 does give an exceptional damage increase too. But there's just one problem with Luke, and that is that he shares teammates with Amia, and he could be sharing teammates with upcoming DPSs too, which could make getting either that upcoming DPS or his supports dupes over his. But if you do like Luke, going for an S3 Luke is not bad at all. You definitely could get it. Like, as you can see here, it is a really big damage increase. Like, S3 Luke is a 77% damage increase compared to his S0. And this is not cap. It is very, very strong. But he does share teammates with some pretty good hard hitters that you could possibly get either those other DPS dupes over his or just the teammates dupes over his, so you can run the teammates with the other teams. But if you are a Luke main, definitely go for that S3. It's definitely really, really good. It's really, really good. So in this team, you could go for the S3 Luke and then kind of just settle down and probably get the S1 Mornye if you want to. Or if you don't think you have enough costs, or not costs, like let's say you only have enough corals to get Dinya dupes and you don't have enough to go for all in S3 Luke, or even you think you want to know which one is better, S2 Luke or S2 Dinya, I would definitely try to get S2 Dinya over S2 Luke. So let me just show you here. This one right here, this is just a little too cracked versus Luke's S2, which is just not really that much of a damage increase. Which, if you had the choice, S2 Luke, S2 Dinya, definitely get Dinya. But if you had the choice, S3 Luke over like S2 Dinya, S1 Mornye, that's also pretty good competitive. I'm not gonna lie. His teammates dupes is just too good, even though his is good still. His teammates dupes is just too good for what else teams they can go into. So yeah, this one is a very hard one. I would say if you're a Luke main, just get the S3. If you're not really a Luke main, then just get these two investment dupes, and it will still be a pretty good damage increase for Luke, almost as equal to his S3. But yeah, let's go for Choyan, the main DPS, our first support DPS. Okay, now when it comes to main DPS Choyan, he has a pretty decent amount of options you can do here. So you could either run the more Tefi or you can even run Shorekeeper here. But when it comes to the his other supports, my bad. I was gonna go for his dupes, but I'm gonna just speak of his other supports first. When it goes to his other sports, you can run either Rebecca. Oh, Rebecca's up here. You can either run Rebecca too. Rebecca works. You can run Lynae. Lynae works. You could also run where is she? You could run, you can even run Falova to support him, quote unquote. But I mean, if you had the investment on him and not Falova, you could use Falova to support him, which would also be a pretty good one. Whenever it comes to main DPS Choya, he has pretty good options as long as you get the DPS Choyan dupes, which I'm pretty sure pretty much everybody knows what DPS Choyan dupes is, which is going to be this fat behind S3 right here. I mean, just you could just tell it's crazy by looking at how long it is. So pause. Okay, that very much pause. But his dupes does indeed pretty good, at least for his S2 and S3. His S2 and S3 is pretty good. Now, I know his S2 doesn't say it increases damage by a lot, which it does not for him at the very least. But whenever it comes to the supporting, is a really good dupe whenever it comes to support. So if you do want to pull S2 Cho Yan for supporting, it's really good. His S1 is also really good. But when it comes to main DPS, his S3 is really, really good. I have multiple. I mean, if you look at the account reviews, my account reviews, I've multiple people that have DPS Cho Yan, surprisingly, and some of them even pull for this terrible behind the S4. So yeah, when it comes to DPS Cho Yan, definitely get the S3 Cho Yan first of all, because you're not DPSing him without his S3. And then you could think of getting more costs either on S1 Mornye or getting like a better support here, whether that be Rebecca, or any upcoming character that can slot in here, Lynae, something else. So something else can work in here. It doesn't really matter too much for Lova. Almost anything can work right here with the DPS Cho Yan, but you could either slot in the S1 Mornye or you can even slot in the Shorekeeper or S2 Shorekeeper. Both of them work. Okay, now we have Galbrina. Now, this one is probably the most flexible one on this list, unironically. So with Galbrina, you can run her with quite a frequent of teammates, and all of them I'm about to pull up right now. So you can run her with every single last one of these characters um right here. So you can run Frolova, Choyan, Lucilla, Lupa, Rebecca, and Mortefi. All of these characters will work in a team for the Galbrina, but who would you actually spend that investment on? So for her best teams kind of fluctuate depending on buffs because she's a dual DPSing type of character, at least when it comes to her damage. She is an echo and heavy damage. So depending on a shield buff, it can definitely change her DPS. But I think the safest team you can go with is either this one with the Lucilla or this one with the Mortefi. Those are like the safest ones you can go with for her investment wise on team. But when it comes to investments, Galbrina investment is also very, very simple. These two dupes is really good. Her S1 and S2 is really, really good. She has like one of the best S1s in the game. I really like her S1. Even though this doesn't say it's increased a lot, it definitely scales. It definitely scales in battle because it takes time to build up because you got to do multiple hits to build it up for an 80 crit damage. So it's a very good. But as you can see, her S2 goes from literally just a 140 increases to her S2, and the S3 is 70%, which is really, really good. But when it comes to the ones you would actually want to get, it kind of depends what you want to do because I think Lupa would possibly be the best one to get the dupes on in this team if you're running Lupa always in her team, which I think you should always run Lupa in her team. So Lupa S2 and S3 is just really, really crazy. So it really just depends on which one you want to do. If you want to have multiple fusion teams be strong, I would say get the S3 Lupa. But if you don't really care or have multiple fusion teams, you could just safely go for that S2 Galbrina and kind of just call it a day. When it comes to her other teammates, I would definitely still choose the S2 Galbrina over them, probably except for just the and Frolova, because S2 is really, really good, and S2 Frolova is just broken. So that is about it for the Galbrina one. That one just kind of leads up to which one you want more because can be used for her main DPS and supporting, and for Lova's is just broken. So like, yeah. That's gonna be it for the Galbarina though. Okay, now with Frolova, as we was just talking about her, with her dupes being broken. So when it comes to Frolova, you legit could just grab Frolova S2 and her Sig, and you basically have a team. At that point, she will basically be wheelchairing any character you put on her team, so her teammates doesn't really even matter. So yeah, you could grab more echo skill characters. By the way, this one scales. I forgot to mention that. For Lova damage scales, she is a character that gets stronger as the battle goes on. So these just get higher and higher and higher. She gives herself the max stacks at her S6, so that's only when she doesn't scale any higher. But whenever you have her Sig plus the S2, you basically already have a team. So yeah, when it comes to Frolova dupes, or if you want to invest into like Frolova herself and a team around her, I would just grab her S2. Her teammates doesn't really matter. You can basically run S2 Frolova with any of these teams up here, and it will literally just work just because how the character works. Yeah, and it's even better if you know how to play her and you know how to rotate her fast because she has a very fast rotation for a DPS. We can show it right here. It's even faster than what they say right here on Pro One that she has a 9-second rotation. Yeah, it's even faster than that if you actually know how to do it very, very well with the dodge cancels. But yeah, this one right here, just grab her S2. Her teammates don't matter. So yeah, let's go to Zanny. Now, when it comes to Zanny, hers is extremely, extremely simple. Don't even pull dupes on this character. Sandy is an exceptional character, really strong character. Surprisingly, really strong character for how long and how much she gets slandered too. Really strong. But her dupes are really just not that worth it. But whenever it comes to a Zanny team, you could invest into the Phoebe because Phoebe dupes are really, really good for Zandy. And not only that, since Phoebe is a support for just this spectral frazzle thingy, this mechanic, it's going to be very, very good whenever they drop another Spectro Frazzle DPS. So when you have this S2 Phoebe, it's going to scale even higher for more teams or just more characters when we get more Spectro Frazzle DPSs. So when it comes to the Zanny team, don't pull Zanny dupes. Do not a single one of them, unless you're just going full send to S6. But even then, I would not pull S6 Zanny before I pull an S2 Phoebe. So yeah, just think about that. Think about that. So yeah, don't pull deuce on Zandy, pull S2 Phoebe. Boom, you're done. Okay, now we have Cartwheel. Now, S2 Cartwheel is basically the same scenario as S2 for Lova. Once you have this character dupe, she basically is just functioning by herself. And she could just kind of do random bull and doesn't really matter. Same thing can be said for the Hiyuki and the Amieth, by the way. I just didn't want to really present them like that because these are good, but these two are just so insane. Also, this one is also really insane. You can do the same thing with her, by the way. You can. But these two, I just want to put them like that because they're slightly older characters. So I don't want you to base yourself into pulling their teammates because at least with the Amia, her teammates is still really good. Even if you have her history, her teammates are still really good. But when it comes to Karthia and Frolova teammates kind of just suck boo-boo. So yeah, and then whenever it comes to Carthia, her teammates is pretty good, but you really can go without her teammates if you have her. So I already showed you earlier what her thing goes to. Like I said, Problem's not extremely reliable, but just as you can see here, this is just a 85% from the S0, which is just crazy. So if you think about getting an investment for Carthia, just get Carthia Sig, get S3 Carthia, and just say bump her teammates. Don't even pull her teammates because she's doing what her teammates would have did already. And then she kind of just works like that. Yeah, now let's go to DPS Okay, when it comes to DPS as I said earlier, her S2 is pretty good for her main DPS. But when we're looking at her teammates also have pretty good dupes. Now, whenever it comes to Lynae, I really like Lynae dupes. Lynae has really good dupes, but the problem with Lynae is she's already too good. So getting dupes on her won't feel like you actually got a change. Even though you would get a change, going for her S2 for more support really won't feel like you got a real change versus if you like got a dupe for like S1 Mornye or you got the dupes for like your main DPS or something like that. because Lynae is already so good at her base kit. Going for dupes with her genuinely will not feel like you changed much. So yeah, with this team, I would easily just go for either the S2 to S3, Both of them are really good. I would say you could safely stop at the S2 though, and you're just kind of chilling. But as you can see, her S3 is indeed an 82% difference compared to her S0. So like, yeah. And this damage right here, this is way more, by the way. She does this in like a single ultimate if you have her S3. So this damage is like one hit at her S3, and especially if you're in this team. But for this, you can either go for S2, with her Sig. Kind of don't need, you don't need Lynae Sig, just get Lynae. And then you don't need Mornye Sig either. Instead, you should get her M1 if you can, or say bump her M1 and just get the S3, And then you could just kind of go out there with it. So main DPS, really, really exceptional. Okay, now for Augusta. That's Augusta. Augusta, my bad. Augusta, her dupes are good, okay? She does have really good dupes. Like, I mean, you can see it 73% increase compared to her S0 and then a 48 increase compared to her S2. So it is really good dupes, but there's this one problem that Augusta has, and it's her Sig. Her Sig holds her back a bit because how low the crit rate is, but her S2 does help out a bit whenever it comes to building up this S2, because the problem that Augusta has is actually maxing out this S2. You need a pretty cracked build to even get the full benefits from this S2, which if you're pulling for a character's dupe, you want to get the full benefit of that dupe, because if you're not getting the full benefit, then what's the point of it? So yeah, what the problem with this is really hard to get the full benefit of it, but if you do go for S3, it's also a really, really good damage increase too. So kind of just go for what you want here. You could go for the S2, which will help out your Augusta damage, and then you could also have a quote unquote second DPS, because the could main DPS in this team right here. You could just kind of run like more Teffy or Rebecca or something with the Augusta, and she'll just still work. Or you could go for the S2 to S3 Augusta, and she just kind of goes like that. Or could go for the S2 Shorekeeper. I think in this team specifically, wouldn't go for the S2 Shorekeeper. I mean, it's really good. It works in literally every team that's up here, except for probably like Cardathea. But yeah, this S2 is really good. But if you're gonna go for more TPS specifically for these two, then you could just go for the dupes on one of these two. So just kind of do what I said there. These dudes are really good, but just do keep in mind, if you do stop at a S2 Augusta, you need to make sure that you're going over 100% crit rate, and you need to be at 50 crit rate. You need to be at 150 crit rate to get this full benefit of the S2. So yeah. Okay, now for Cantarella DPS. This is a very, very honorable mention because people really don't know, but Cantarella as a main DPS actually goes really, really hard with investment. So with her dupes, the S1 doesn't really change anything. The S1's kind of boo-boo, but when it comes to her S2 and this S3 is a diabolical damage increase, as you can see here. Now, just look at this. This is an 84% difference compared to her S0 and a 56 difference compared to her S0, so with the S2. And these are not just going to be some little hits she's doing. No, she's going to be doing nukes with this, because it's a direct multiplier increase to her liberation and her skills with this. So it's really, really, really strong whenever you're in the S2 to S3 with the Cantarella. But when it comes to her team, this team is really good. You can swap out the Mornye with the Shorekeeper here, but I'm trying to just use Mornye more than the Shorekeeper here, because Mornye is more accessible nowadays compared to Shorekeeper. More players will have a Mornye compared to Shorekeeper nowadays, because Shorekeeper just really doesn't get reruns. So yeah, with this, you could go for like an S3 to S2 Cantarella. I would say go for the S3, just because, I mean, just look at it. It's 84% difference. Like, it's a very, very large difference. I would definitely go for the S3, but if you can't go for the S3 and just can go for the S2, get the S2, and then you can just get the S1 Mornye whenever you can, and that will still be just a pretty good damage and multiplier increase compared to her S3. So you will be almost getting about the same value. With this second slot here, you can kind of almost use anybody here. You could use Lynae, you could use Soundhwa, you can use for Lova, you could use Roshia, you have pretty decent options that you can run here. You can even run like a sub DPS Lucy with her, which it works. It could work. That actually works. You can get the additional defense shred from the Lucy debuffs and stuff like that. So it works. It's pretty good. But yeah, this is probably like the best team I would say you can run though. Others than that, you could probably like London the Lynae. But yeah, S2 to S3 on the Kentarilla, and she's gonna do some big numbers for you. And I'm not trolling. She's gonna do some big numbers. Okay, now when it comes to Changli team, now if you've seen my videos for a while now, you know that I really am saddened with the dupes of Changli. So when it comes to this team, definitely the last character you ever get dupes on, actually just don't even get none of her dupes. Just wait for her to get buffed or something, and the dupes actually get buffed. None of these dupes is a real damage increase for Cantarella. I mean, not Cantarella, Changli. They're just not a damage increase. Instead, what you could do is go for the S2 to S3 Lupa, or even you can get the S2 Brant, and this would be way more damage for the Cantarella team. And there, I would say the one you should definitely go for is probably the S2 to S3 Lupa, but don't sleep on S2 Brand. S2 Brand's diabolical, by the way. Yeah, but when it comes to the Changli team, just don't even get her dupes. Don't even get her weapon. Just run EOG. Just get Chang Li herself and just get the investment on her teammates, and then you will have a team right there. And plus, if you know how to do the quick swap, then you will just have even more diabolical damage alongside with the investment that you either choose on the Brand or Lupa. But that's going to be it for the Chang Li team. Okay, now for the Carlotta. Now, Carlotta actually has some pretty good dupes. Where is she? Where is she? She's right here. Carlotta has some pretty good dupes. I like her a lot of dupes, but her teammates does have some pretty good dupes. But at the bare minimum, I would definitely say in a Carlotta team, you could just go for an S1 for the more career because Miss Desawa does not like to Desawa sometimes. So it'd be very sad. But when it comes to her teams, you could just run this. You can slot in other characters, like you can run the Zhuzha. I would definitely not advise that one, but you can run Zhuzha here. You can slot out the Mornye for Buling. You can run Shorekeeper instead of Mornye too. You can take out the Cantarella for the Lynae. You could take out the Cantarella or Lynae for Brant also. That one also works. But when it comes to the dupes that you would get on the Carlotta, her dupes are actually pretty good. I would say the S2 to S3 is a pretty good stopping point. Her S2 to S3 is pretty good. I would say you could stop at the S2. Her S2 is just really good, but her S3 is also not that bad. Is really not that bad. It's mostly more damage for her outro skill than anything. It does give her a lot of skill damage for her ultimate, but it's more so the outro damage that gets an insane damage increase here. But I would say the S2 is a really good stopping point, and instead of going for her S3, you can go for the S1 Mornye first, then probably think about her S3 later. But yeah, I would say S2 Carlotta, and then get the S1 Mornye, and then you're just kind of done. Yeah, that's about it for the Carlotta team. Okay, so for the DPS brand. Now, DPS brand, I definitely think, first of all, if you're going to DPS brand at all, definitely bare minimum get his S2. His S3 is a decent damage increase. It's not something I would advise. It's almost as equal to Choyan's S4, but it is a decent damage increase. Like, as you can see, it does say 88, but I really think this 88% is more so coming from plus the S3 plus him being in the tune with Lupa, so it's getting base boosted. But I would say you could safely go for the S2 Brant and you'll be doing more than enough damage. You'll definitely just be doing more than enough damage. S2 Brant is exceptional. S2, one of the best S2s in the game, is really good, especially for a healer, by the way. But if you also want to go for more investment, you could, since this team is a little bit more lower cost because it has a 4-star in it, you could go for the Brant S2, then you can go for the Lupa S2, and you could just kind of stop there. Whenever it comes to the second slot doesn't really matter that much. You really wouldn't run Sanhua here. You would kind of run like somebody else, like Mornye. Mornye is like definitely like a way better option here. I just kind of threw Sanhua in here just cause. Actually, I'm just gonna just take the Sanhua out and just put Mornye in. Yeah, the team would be more like this. But basically, yeah, you could go for the S2 Brand, S2 Lupa, or S2 Brand, S1 Mornye. So that's what you kind of could do with this team. I would definitely think the one I would probably go for is S2 Brand, S1 Mornye, just so I could have a support that's also universal outside the Brand team, which is very nice. But yes, Brand S2 is a diabolical S2. Genuinely, if I had, bro, I would have him S2, by the way. I would have him S2. But let's go to DPS Phoebe. DPS Phoebe is actually really strong. She actually has some pretty good dupes for her DPS. Let's just look at her S1 here. Her S1 is a pretty good damage increase for her DPS. So like S1 alone, you'll get a pretty good damage increase out of her. And then when it comes to her S2, it's also another DPS increase, but also a support increase for whatever team you're going to run her in, whatever it comes to supporting. Basically, just Zandy right now in the game. But when we get an extra, like I said, Spectral Frazzle DPS, this one will scale even higher. And then her S3 is a really good stopping point, but do not sleep on her S4. Her S4 is unironically good because it gives the Spectral Frazzle or Spectral res down, was a pretty good increase. As you can see, yeah, I would say it's about basically almost 10% increase compared to her S3, which I wouldn't advise you to get it, but don't sleep on it either. But yes, S2 Phoebe for her main DPS if you want to be a DPS Phoebe main. Getting her S2, or no, I would say more so S1 to S3 is a really good stopping point. So when it comes to the cost or whatever you want to invest on this team, S2 to S3 Phoebe, and then you can just kind of go whatever on Lynae, and then you just run the Spectral River. If you don't have the Lynae you can run here, you can run like Falova, you can run like more Tepi. That also works. You can run Conchona also. Conchona also works. You have a few options you can do, but that's probably about it for the DPS Phoebe. Okay, now when it comes to GN, this one is extremely straightforward. If you want to go for dupes on GN, don't even do it. Hit all the teams that he runs in besides the more heavy one. His teammates' dupes are just far superior. So the best team you can run him is with the Kachona, and getting dupes on Kachona is just far better. So if you're a true GM main, I would say just get the S2 Kachona, get Kachona Sig, and then you're kind of just chilling at that point. If you want to go for more investment on a team, you can either one slot in the S1 Mornye or just go for the S1 to S2 Shorekeeper, because being able to fit in 2 rotations and Shorekeeper Ultimate is a very nice tech for him, which increases damage by a lot. But when it comes to his dupes is just really not good. It only gets decent at the S3. Besides that, I would genuinely just not go for dupes on him. I would say just go to S6. Like, yeah, just go to S6. Don't even stop at anything. S6 is his best stopping point. This is definitely like probably super outdated, but I would say just don't go for dupes on him, period. Anyway, just get the S2 Kachona. It's going to be a really good damage increase for him. And then get Kachona's weapon, and then you'll be really good. Want more DPS? Get S2 Shorekeeper, and you're pretty much done with the GN there. Okay, now when it comes to Jinshi's investment, Jinshi has decent dupes. They're not bad, but they're also nothing crazy. Now, also when it comes to this team, I would definitely say you can slot out this middle slot here with basically almost a lot of things. You can either slot in for Lova, you can slot in Zhuzh, you can take out Shorekeeper for Buling, you can take out this also for Yinlin. Also, I really think Yinlin is her strongest team, but I think the Cancer one would be the more comfortable one for people. But if you're doing quick swap, the Yinlin one is definitely her best variant. But besides that, when it comes to investment for her team, getting her S1 is a really good stopping point. Just get the S1 and you're just kind of chilling. Going for anything else is kind of just whatever. So it's either S1 to S6. So yeah, her S1 is really good though. Really good S1. This one doesn't really show. I'm pretty sure this is like really outdated because you can see it says these give about same value, which is not really wrong, but also not really true. So yeah, when it comes to that, S1 Jinshi, and then just kind of if you want to go for more stuff on that, just S6 her. But if you want to get actual investment on this team, I would say S1 Jinshi and then S2 Shorekeeper, and you're just kind of done. And then after that, none of the teammates you run on her will actually give her a boost in damage with their dupes. So it's really just an S1 Jinshi, S2 Shorekeeper, and you're just kind of much done right here. Okay, so when it comes to Camellia, now Camellia for a 1.0 character has some insane dupes, by the way. So when it comes to Camellia, her S1 is a DPS increase. Definitely wouldn't tell you stop at S1, but it definitely would help out with comfortability on her, but without getting interrupted on the Imperial. So yeah, but her S2 to S3 is just really good. Now I'm pretty sure this is decently outdated. Yeah, this is decently outdated. This does like way more. But yeah, basically, if you get her S3 to S2, her Imperials should do about 800 to 700k, which is a very nice for especially this team. You definitely want to run this team instead of Roshia. This team is just way more comfortable. But I will say I do like the team with Verena more than the Shorekeeper one. But having the Shorekeeper for the extra crit buffs does help. But I do like the Verena variation of this team because the faster rotations with Camellia is very nice since her Imperial does not have a very long cooldown. So you can basically spam it off cooldown, especially being able to do like 700, 800 nukes on her Imperials, which is very, very nice. So let's go to Zhang. Okay, so when it comes to investment for a Zhang team, this one is basically just straight up like just so easy. You should just get the S1 Mornye and then you're pretty much done. I would just grab the S1 Mornye because Jingliao Deuce is really not good. These are just not good enough. Now, when you get towards the like his end Deuce, like once you get to like his S5 to the S6, more so the S6, then he starts doing a pretty large amount of damage. Actually, his S3 is also pretty good, but I just wouldn't say going for an S3 Zhang would be worth it. This is definitely outdated. I just would not go for it. It's just not worth it. Like if you want to go for it to hit dudes on his team, just get him his Sig. You can get Lynae without her Sig, and you can get Mornye S1. You could possibly even get Mornye Sig, or you say bump Mornye Sig and get S2 Lynae for even more damage for him. But his dupes is just not good enough to even go for it unless you have enough resources just to get his S3, then you could probably go with it. But even then, I think just getting the S1 Mornye or S2 Lynae or getting both of them would just be way more value to your account than an S3 Zhang Liao. So yeah. Okay, now DPS Chisha. I did just run DPS Chisha not that long ago. Like I think like a few days ago. So DPS Chisha is also pretty good. Honestly, her Deuce is pretty good for her main DPS, at least to her S2 to the S3 and then her S6. These are all pretty good for her main DPS. So if you did want to go for a DPS Shisha, I definitely, yeah, these don't cater so much to her main DPS, but these give a decent amount of what her stuff would look like. So this would be like a 50 to 40-ish damage increase. And then this one would be like almost 100% damage increase because her S3 is kind of diabolical, honestly. But yeah, if you was to go for investment on this team, I would say going for the S3 Chisha is probably the main priority. I would definitely go for the S3 Chisha. But if you did want to make DPS Chisha while also better your account with more investment around your stuff, you could go for S2 Chisha and then the S1 Mornye, and you still could get a DPS Chisha out of the way. I mean, you can go watch my video. I cleared exceptionally well with the DPS Chisha while being at a full S0 and only having only one R1 with the DPS Chisha team, and it's cleared on the highest HP boss that we've seen in TOA. So yeah, that one is pretty straightforward. S3 Chisha, and then you kind of just go about your day, or S2 Chisha, S1 Mornye, and then you just gotta go about your day. All right, let's go to DPS Denya. Okay, and now for our last team. Now, I'm pretty sure I've ran through basically almost every team that I could think of to have your favorite character have some type of relevancy on your account if you invested into them in some type of proper way. And now we're on our last team with being the DPS Denya. Now, I did just also run DPSD. I'm pretty sure it's my latest video that you should be seeing right before this one. DPS Denya is also really good. It also cleared the highest HP enemy that we've seen in TOA, also at S0R1 with the same team that she used here with the what's her name? DPS Shisha. So yeah, this team also does really good. Her DPS is also really good. I don't think these dupes are this is gonna show her real value. I guess is also pretty much right. I would say this one's more like 30-ish% for her main DPS, and this one, yeah, is probably like 100% damage increase towards her main DPS. So yeah, her dupes is really good. So if you did want to go for the main DPS Denya, it's basically the same formula as DPS Chisha. Just get her S2 or her S3. And then if you want to just kind of be like investment all over your place for your account, Walmart, her may DPS, S2 Denya, S1 Mornye. So yeah, this is why, as you can see, why I said S1 Mornye is like a pretty good priority in almost any of these teams that you can run on if you can get it and you don't have the ability to get for some of these things. So going for the S1 Mornye is like a really good one. as you can see, Mornye is just on a lot of these teams, and she could be on more of these teams. So yeah, S1 Mornye is really, really good, as you can tell out of all these things up here. So S1 Mornye is probably like one of the best bang of buck for a dupe that you can get in the game right now, 100%. And then that's really about it. Now, if you was to actually what I think the top 5 strongest hidden teams with investment would be on here, it would probably be this AMBF team, Hearthia, her actual team, probably S3 Luke team, and then hiyuki, and then one more being probably Yeah, those would probably be the hardest hitting teams I would think that would be up here with the proper investment that I said that you could give them. But I definitely think that one could change depending on what enemy you're fighting, because some of these teams DPS can change on what enemy you're fighting because of the rotation change and stuff like that. But if you was actually what was my favorite one on here, probably the Cantarella one. I probably like Cantarella up here the most, or probably DPS Dinya or Chisa. These two are very exceptional. But yeah, that is going to be it for today's video. I hope this long video that I have here is going to help you in some type of way invest probably for your favorite DPS or support that you want to make a DPS so they can live a long time, because all these teams that I built here are made to live a long time with whatever investment that you actually give them with proper stuff, and you actually learn how to play the team, whether it's an easy team or a hard team, and it's a easy team that can be learned how to play hard. So yeah, that is going to be it. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to edit this video. I'm going to get this posted to y'all probably tomorrow. It's the 21st right now, so I'm probably going to get this out for the 22nd early in the morning for y'all. But I'm going to get out of here. You guys should definitely like, comment, subscribe. And you definitely should join my Discord if you want to chill with me or other gacha players, or basically almost non-gacha players that barely play gacha games. Then you should definitely join my Discord. We be in VC sometimes. But anyways, I'm going to get out of here. Have a beautiful night, morning, afternoon, wherever you are.